Welcome everybody to this information overview session about the certificate in Python for finance with specializations in asset management, algorithmic trading and computational finance. My name is Yves. I'm the founder and CEO of the Python Quant as well as of the iMachine, and I'm also the program director for the CPF. Yeah, today's session will provide you with a rather fast-paced overview of the single elements that make up the CPF program. Therefore, without further ado, let me jump into the agenda where we will get started with a brief introduction. I will then show you the program from a high-level perspective. I will dive a little bit deeper into two classes that we have that are at the core of the program. The one is finance with Python, the other one is AI in finance. I will then show you and illustrate how we have improved our Quant platform recently, which is the central content and code execution venue during your time with us at the CPF. Then I will show you the study plans. There are basically two plans that you can follow. The one is the guided one during the live cohort. The other one is the one-year study plan. A few words about the guiding principles of the program, also about the tutorials and the review materials that we provide you with, as well as about the user forum, which is the first primary source for support for you, as well as the Discord server, which is the second source where you can get feedback, where you can get answers, or you can start discussions about topics of more general nature. And last but not least, the final project. I know that many of you might be interested in what is kind of like the requirement to obtain the certificate, and that's all about the final project. As a final little point, there is also a link to the brochure of the program. Yeah, brief introduction. We are the Python Quants. We do this program and ever new iterations, ever more comprehensive setup since quite a few years. But that's not the only thing that we have been doing over the last years. Everything is centered around Python for finance. I've written a couple of books and published them. We have run a number of events. I can say globally in New York, in London, multiple locations in Europe, also in Asia. We have provided services to large financial institutions. We have open sourced Python packages as well, so I've been active part of the community. Then we have the second company here, the iMachine, which is about the AI-powered Python-based algorithmic trading, which is a standardized platform for the deployment of algorithmic trading strategies. For those of you who might not know me, here a little bit for you to read if you're interested in. I jump over that. That's for your reference. Yeah, I mentioned I have published a couple of books. That's the, let's say, entry-level book, The Financial Theory with Python, a gentle introduction. It has been translated now in multiple other languages. Here is the Polish version. Then I like to say best-selling book. For sure, it's not Harry Potter, but still Python for Finance, second edition. Which is more a reference work. It's not really an introduction to finance nor to Python, but if you know a bit of finance, a bit of Python, like with the first book, Financial Theory with Python, then that's the reference work. Python for Algorithmic Trading, a book that has provided a framework for those who wanted to get started with retail algorithmic trading. Also AI in finance, which, as the name suggests, focuses on AI as applied to our domain, with a special focus again on the algorithmic trading side. So here the books about quant finance, because we have seen it already on the header slide. Asset management, algo trading, and computational finance. So these books belong into the computational finance area, where the topics are more towards option pricing and then hedging and Monte Carlo simulation, market-based valuation of complex derivatives, etc. pp. Or as you see on the right-hand side, vol and variance derivatives. Yeah, that much about the introduction, where we are coming from, where I'm coming from. Now to the program itself, which has been growing over the years, I can say tremendously. People said already that what we offer these days is comparable to a master's program. in finance and maybe computational finance. Yeah, and I can agree to that. When we have a look here at the overview, when you decide, for example, for the life cohort, which is 3 times a year, then this is a typical phase of 4 months, 16 weeks, roughly. Probably a bit longer, depending on how long you would like to take for the final project. And I just did a new recount. In the core modules, the core classes, you find 330 plus hours of instruction. My books, the ones that I've shown you, we only provide the English versions as PDFs. I have 2,500 pages and a little bit more. And to be honest, I don't know how many Jupyter notebooks. Probably there are much more than 250 to be found, and probably there's much more Python code, but I like the 25, as you can see here. And this is what makes up, in the end, the certificate in Python for Finance, where you might earn a specialization in algo trading, asset management, or computational finance, as I was pointing out before. So it doesn't mean that you need to study basically everything that you see here. That would be quite a bit for a 16-week program. This would mean basically full-time study, probably 6 days a week or something. So that's not the requirement, but you have access to the resources. They are there, and you can, even if you have obtained your certificate, you still can get back and study maybe classes, maybe topics that you have skipped over during your first run through the program. Here you see the comprehensive overview, and I could spend now ages explaining the details of everything that you see there. That's a little bit difficult and would not fit in our time window for today, but let me try at least to give you a broad overview. So you see on the left-hand side what I call the foundations, right? There's Python for Finance Basics, and we have added a number of basics classes recently, like mathematics basics, like Linux basics, crypto basics, right? You see different number of hours. So math basics here is basically 45 modules are 1 hour. Here, 35 modules are 1 hour. So many people have said, yeah, if with regard to many or even most of the classes, the barriers of entry are still too high. My math from high school or from college is a little bit rusty. Or I did programming like 7 years ago, but haven't been programming since quite a while. So why not adding something which is more targeted towards the entry level? And this is what we have been doing primarily over, I would say, the last 18 months, let's say. And yeah, this gives you any type of foundation that you would need for the more advanced and finance applied topics later on. More to the foundations here with regard to databases, or if you want to work with Excel or general data science, right? Like working with time series data, visualization, all these topics are covered here. Basically everything against the finance background, but more on a foundational level, right? On the right-hand side, you see the applications, where finance with Python, I would say, is at the core of the core. And if you see here 9 hours, this just refers to the hours that are there in the form of videos. But I know from experience, many people spend much more time on that, let's say to the factor of 4, 5, 6 times as much, right? Because this is so fundamental. And as I spent as much time on these topics here as you need, because this will really help you with later topics, classes, sessions, modules, code that you will encounter, etc. Then we have Python for asset management, 17 modules, 25 hours. AI in finance, you see here there are 3 classes basically, 36 hours plus 15 for reinforcement learning for finance. Here is the whole pillar here is with regard to algorithmic trading, which I know, at least from experience, I think I can say that most of you even might be interested primarily in that topic. I won't be surprised if that would be otherwise, but I'm happy, I'm open if we have, for example, more final projects on the computational finance side. That's fine with me, but given the numbers that I know, that I'm aware of, usually the algorithmic trading part is the one that people first cover, and maybe later on dive deeper into the others. Others meaning like here Python for computational finance, the core part, or with regard to DX analytics, or even the advanced topics, vol and variance derivatives, and also here the financial packages, which are primarily related to algo trading applications, but also to many other topics that you find over here. So a total of 330 plus hours, and this is not counting other webinars or talks or introduction and overview sessions, mentoring sessions, or whatever we do around that and do on top of that, right? That's basically what we have here. So, and this is just what is already there. So during the live cohort, we usually have 2 to 3 live sessions per week, right? And the next live cohort starts in September, at the beginning of September, right? And goes formally over 12 weeks plus 4 weeks for the practice phase. Yeah, starting in September, then week after week, we will have 2 to 3 live sessions plus maybe a Q&A session on the Discord server. I come to that later on. And these are usually during weekdays and usually also around 3 p.m. European time. So that's what comes on top. There is no need if you say, well, I'm living in an Asian time zone, I'm living on the West Coast in the US, to say, well, I don't want to get up, I don't want to stay up late. Everything is recorded. All what we do is recorded, and shortly afterwards is put on the platform, right? So that's yeah, an important message, I would say, because this allows those who are interested in a self-paced study program to study completely self-directed, self-paced, right? Because all the resources are always available online, so that you can access them as you like, right? So for those of you, and here I have relied on something that so many people are talking about these days, for those of you who might not be convinced whether a program like ours, which I would say is unique out there, I wouldn't only say that I'm convinced, and I would bet a bit of money, if not a bit more, that you won't find anything as comprehensive and as systematically provided as our program out there. But if you still are not convinced why Python is the right way to go and why an investment in your Python education, in leveling up your Python skill is the right one, here a few answers, and I try to kept it short by prompting ChatGPT to provide only 7 short bullet points. You see here a number of reasons why Python has become so important and so widespread in the financial industry overall, right? Easy to learn, versatile, data handling, integration, community, flexibility, Python and hedge funds. Why is that used so widely in hedge funds? Yeah, data analysis, of course, is important. Quant modeling, important. Algo trading, risk management, data visualization, machine learning, and web scraping. These are topics that ChatGPT comes up with, apart from the web scraping part, which is a strength of Python. I fully agree here, but probably web scraping would have come at maybe number 10 or 12 in my personal list here. Python for algo trading, again, ease of use, versatility, speed of development, integration, open source nature, support for advanced strategies, right? If you want to use fancy AI capabilities, it's simply there, right? No need to, I don't know, look around. Usually you do a conda install, a pip install, and you have the latest, greatest AI tools available. Real-time data handling, of course, absolutely important, is also one of the core topics that we cover in the Python for algorithmic trading part, the dealing with real-time data, because otherwise, what do you want to do in algorithmic trading? You need to digest data that's coming in, need to process it, need to generate signals, place trades, and do your risk management, right? And Python for computational finance, here usually the computational workload is what is the major requirement, right? And efficient libraries, parallel processing, scalability, machine learning, AI, flexible and dynamic, interoperability, community support. And you, I'm pretty sure, know big institutions like Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and all the big banks, like the big hedge funds, like the Citadels, PDT Partners, Two Sigmas in the world. They all use Python, if not as a core language, then as one of the key technologies in their overall stack. So I hope that's enough selling input from ChatGPT, but I can fully agree with that. When I started out in Python for Finance some 15 years ago, this was my main day job, to convince other people of the use and the benefits of Python, right? These days, I think that's a given. It is simply there, and it's there to stay. Now, as an example for one of the key classes that I mentioned, in our program, you find for these key and core topics usually 3 types of resources. The one is the book as a PDF here, it's Financial Theory with Python. Then you have the video recordings plus the Jupyter notebooks, maybe some other resources, slide decks, code snippets, or whatever, cheat sheets, for example. And then you have also a Jupyter Lab instance that you can use immediately with the code that we provide on the Quant platform. Right, so this holds true for many of the trainings. Not for all, because there is not a book for every single training that we have, right? When I was mentioning, let's say, the mathematics basics class, there is no book for the mathematics basics class, right? This is a separate class, but for that class, you will find also video recordings, resources, and the option, if you like, to execute this on the Quant platform in the browser, or to download the code and use the code on your local machine. And to illustrate that this is for another key topic the case, let's have a look at AI and finance. Here you see it as well. There is the book available on the Quant platform as a PDF. Then you have the video recordings here. There are quite a few more. It's not just 6 modules like in the intro class, Finance with Python. Here you have 24 total, AI and finance plus 9 modules for RL for finance. And reinforcement learning is covered in the book, and the other topics are also mostly covered in the book, but not all. So you will find additional stuff well beyond the books in all of the classes. But the books always provide a reference, a framework where you can read through. Maybe you find a bit more text around a certain topic, which was just covered passing by during the class, right? So they complement each other. It's not that exactly one-to-one what you find there. But again, you have 3 sources: the book itself, videos plus code, links to slides, whatever, plus the code execution. So where do you find all of this? Yeah, you find it on our Quant platform. When you sign up, when you enroll to our program, you get your credentials to the Quant platform with access to, with the CPF program, as it is now designed and structured, you get access to all our online resources that we have available at this stage. And this means that you see here on the dashboard, I will show you this live on the dashboard. You see the latest recordings that have been put on the platform. You have basically 4 areas. So we try always to keep the platform as simple as possible. You find the books, the classes, user forum, and Jupyter Lab. You find for the single videos, abstracts plus links, plus what we have added recently based on GPT API support here, transcripts for all the videos, summaries for all the videos that you see here as a tooltip, right? So that you basically see for every video, not only for the text, right? For every video, what is in the video, a summary of what is presented in the video, so that you know immediately, either by searching for something or looking through the resources that are there, what is covered in the video, is that of interest, is that's the next step, or may I skip over, given what I'm currently interested in. And of course, you have user forum, you have the books, and the code execution. That's what we have. Before I show you the platform briefly, you can of course search all the resources, right? The user forum here, TPQA, is one of our smaller open source packages that plays a key role in the Python for algorithmic trading class. And when you search the user forum, TPQA, you see here 139 bits. That's the user forum. That's something that we have basically since the beginning. But now with the GPT support, the transcriptions, the summaries, the full text now available for all the content that we have, and I'm pretty amazed by that, right? So seeing my text that I speak right now, like to you here, right, see it written down, and I was able to, for the first time, count the number of words that I use. It was for a 1.5 hour session. It was 4,200 words, the one that I counted. and all these things are now available these days. Let's say much more easy available than it used to be. You see, when you search here for pandas, there is a hit financial data science. That is one video, one session in computational finance core. And you see all the hits, you see the context, you see what is done with pandas, right? The explanations around it, in which context pandas is used, what is presented, right? So I think you can't get more detailed. It's full search over everything that is spoken, over everything that is written. But one thing that we need to add, and we will do so, it's not yet implemented, timestamps, exactly. So that you see here, you see the hits, if you like, but there will in the future also be timestamps. So when you say, here, for example, this provides the flexibility as it allows, etc. That's interesting. I want to jump to that point, and this will be timestamped so that you can, in the video, immediately find the place, the time where the topic of importance to you is to be found, right? So this is what we have added. So I don't want to spend that much time on the platform, just a quick run through. You see here the latest video. So that's a recording, for example, from the previous week. You see for every video, there is a Hoover effect here, the tooltips show up. So in the video titled Python for Algorithmic Trading, right? Then you can read what was happening there. There you find a little bit of a longer summary like here. So all videos as of now have these tooltip summaries, and they are searchable. And by searchable, I mean like here, right? I can, for example, just to show it up front, it takes a little bit because it's now searching over, of course, not a ton of things, but of an ever-growing body of content. It is searching here, and it presents now the results, 33 search results for NumPy in the videos, right? Here you see, like with pandas, the other example before, you see for every video where NumPy is mentioned and in which context NumPy was mentioned, and you can then jump to that video. When you reach here the end, that's like a large Google page, then you also find the search results in the abstracts, right? The abstracts here are stuff that we have manually written up. That's not from ChatGPT, that's written up by ourselves, and you find here the hits as well. So basically, and I'm pretty happy about that, full content search, whether the content is spoken or written down, you can now find it. In the same way, you can of course search the user forum as well, right? If you want to search here for something like what I did before, NumPy, this is not mixed up. So user forum content and provided content is a bit different. It's also taking a little bit, and you see here 206 search results for NumPy. So whenever something is of course, that's a pretty general search that I do here. Maybe yours might be much more specific, but you have here all the content at your fingertips. Getting back to the dashboard, you see, like with the latest videos, you also see the latest forum posts, and that's basically what is provided on the dashboard. You can also jump here right to the single boards that are organized by topic. Here you find the books, Artificial Intelligence in Finance. I go with the first one. They are all password protected. You get obviously the password for all the books, right? And then you can read here, search through the content, the original PDF versions of all my books. I would say even the 6 books, this is a value when you compare with the market prices of the PDFs and or the printed versions. That's alone a few €100. But that's not our major selling point. We just want to provide you most comprehensive set of content that we can, right? Then we have the classes. You see now as a list all the classes on the left-hand side that I have been showing you in the overview before. So I don't want to go through them, maybe just jumping here in the financial packages because that's a short one and also a newer one. So the single classes look like this. You have here the single modules, right? Financial packages that as it stands right now has 6 modules. That's one of the shorter classes, as you might recall from the overview. And you see here, for example, the single Jupyter notebooks that come with the classes here, right? They are numbered. The numbers might not be the same like for the module, but you see, for every module, you have here the tooltips with the summaries. So you will always see upfront what you can expect. And when I click, for example, on a video, let's say here in this video, financial packages, pandas, CA, or we go here with a Quant stats package, for example, that's the third module. So this is now the video. You can jump through the video and now hear myself speaking. That's not what I would like to have. Then you see here an example with regards to the Quant stats module that is presented in that video. Upon multiple user requests, we have added options to speed up the video replay or to slow it down. So if you want to maybe slow it down in order to code away with me when I do live coding, you can do that. Or if you want to speed it up because you just want to have a quick review, this works as well. For every single video, you can generate notes, right? Here, this is my first note about Quant stats, right? So I can add a timestamp, for example, then this note gets timestamped, and you can later on, when you revisit that video, you can always go to your notes and see, for example, when you have marked something, review this particular point, then you will always see it here with the timestamp. And you might have noticed it was a little bit quick. The search functionality also searches your own notes. You can search public content, I think that's a given, but it will also search for you and only your user account, the notes that you have made on the Quant platform, right? When you then say, okay, that's all nice, but I might want to go to the code. This is now because I've opened multiple browsers. So I need to, because it was opening on my second screen. In the meantime, this has opened here the code for the respective package. And I'm now here, you see it's the same URL in our portal, as it's called, Jupyter Lab. And there is the code that is presented in that particular video, right? And you can go through that and then you can execute this step by step, can work along. When you watch the video, you can change it and save it as your own version, for example. And yeah, can basically do what I'm doing or what is done in the single videos there. Here are others, like, for example, for every book, there is also the code that comes along with the book. Financial Theory with Python has, of course, code. And here you see, for example, the code that comes with chapter 2 of the book. That's also on the Quant platform and basically everything else. So you find all the code, all the thousands of lines of code, all the hundreds of Jupyter notebooks, they are provided here on the platform, and you can execute them right away. You can open the Jupyter notebooks here from the, here I was jumping from here. When I click simply on the Jupyter notebook, it will open Jupyter Lab on the Quant platform in your browser, and then you can get started. I think that's a good brief overview of what to expect on the Quant platform. It is your central resource, including support in the form of user forum. You can add your notes, you can work through, you can create new notebooks in Jupyter Lab, you can read all the summaries, you can search the full content. That's the current state of the platform. It's at the core of all what we do. Now to the study plans, right? So we have basically 2 study plans. When I thought about adding more study plans, I was thinking of a 7-month option, but to be honest, after more than 1 year, nobody ever asked me about the 7-month option. So we go with 4 months and 12 months, not meaning that you could study also 8 months or 15 months. But our reference study plans here are for 16 weeks for the live cohort, and I don't want to go through the details. You see there are a ton of details. This guides you through the classes. So when you see the list of classes on the platform, it's not that you study them sequentially. You're supposed to study multiple classes at the same time, step after step, and most of them are at least to some extent interconnected, right? That's the idea. The same holds true for the 1-year study plan, which obviously stretches out the study of the single modules over 12 months instead of the 4-month period, right? You have 3 times as much time to finish it, right? So there is, yeah, I was just saying that 4 months versus 12 months. And indeed, we have usually 3 cohorts per year, 3 live cohorts, which you can join. You can also, we are flexible, you can also repeat. If you, for example, start with a September cohort and you say, well, I'm a bit behind due to a heavier workload than expected, then you can repeat with a January cohort. That's not a big deal, right? So we have January, May, and September. But again, this is relatively open. I've had people who joined us a couple of times who said, I even had a few who did like 2 final projects, one in computation finance, one in algorithmic trading, and they went through the whole program from A to Z twice. You don't have to. I'm just saying we are open. We can accommodate basically all your needs. What to expect with regard to the guiding principles? Our program is Python first. So in particular, in the algorithmic trading part, people often ask me, what strategies do you teach? Can I make money with these strategies? And all the such questions around that. So we teach Python, we teach technology, we teach skills in the programming arena, and against the background of many finance related examples, right? But Python is what comes first, and this is what we focus on. So we are not a finance first program with a little bit of Python. I don't want to mention other names here of programs. So we are Python first, and we teach you, I feel like, even more finance than others. But don't expect us to provide strategies that we recommend. No investment advice. It is about technology. We mostly present specific results. So we are not a research institution showing you the latest results from our financial market laboratory. It's specific, it's applied, it's, as you read it here, practical, right? It's also reproducible. We only rarely in algo trading, for example, work with APIs for real-time data, for data retrieval. Usually we have data sets that we provide so that everybody, no matter what, even if you are traveling on the airplane, for example, that you can work with the data and that you can reproduce the results. And you yourself should reproduce the results. All is supposed to be practical. So without practice, you cannot master the skills. But a few things that I don't know where I should put them, but sometimes I think that this might also be noteworthy. We have, and this since the beginning, people with strong finance backgrounds, but a little less so in programming, or vice versa. People who have a strong data science background and have done a ton of programming and want to enter the finance domain, and all mixtures in between, starters, students, professors, right? Therefore, the classes and sessions, they might be easy for some and difficult for others, right? Delegates might be beginners or experts with regard to one or the other topic. But even if you are a beginner with regard to both finance and programming, you will find everything that you need to get started. But this feeling might not materialize with every class that you will encounter, right? So therefore, you might want to get started a little bit earlier if you are a beginner for some topic. If you are an expert for some topic, you might get started a bit later. So basically, all the classes, apart from those which are primarily targeted toward Windows, are done on Mac OS. In the same manner, you can do them on Linux, but with some minor adjustments, everything should work fine on Windows as well. In the Linux Basics class, we teach in detail how to set up everything on Windows as well in the form of Docker containers, so that if you don't want to go through the Windows treadmill, let's say, you can yeah, get up and running with your Linux on Windows and then do everything else from there. Sometimes the classes might be a bit opportunistic, meaning that topics are touched upon which might not be tightly connected, right? Not like a life's work for a professor, like a 700-page book where you say, well, I start with the first word and the last word really is kind of like everything is interconnected and fully fleshed out. It's really driven by practical and sometimes, again, opportunistic considerations. Delayed rewards, that's a message from my side. It's for me hard to swallow as well. Sometimes you need to do stuff and it takes time and it doesn't pay off immediately and you need to wait and you need to repeat, and one day, I don't know how many days later or weeks later, you say, well, now everything falls together. I now fully understand it, and that's the best feedback that I can get, and I have received it many times up until today, that people say, well, I didn't know anything about Docker, Cloud, nor Python programming. Now everything feels like second nature to me. And that's, for me, the most wonderful feedback. Throughout the program, you have a number of simple exercises, advanced exercises, smaller fun test projects, involved test projects, which might take multiple hours for you to finish, right? Maybe for the first try, you might not even get through it, right? But this is really to challenge you and to see where you are. So there are a number of these. You don't need to do them when you see tutorial, let's say 7 on the study plan. You don't need to do the whole tutorial with everything listed in there. You can also do stuff later, for example. But you should pick some so that you have week after week, you have a bit of exposure in terms of doing stuff on your own, right? And they are also every 3 weeks. So you can think of our 12-week formal schedule, like being composed of 4 sub blocks, 3 weeks, right? And after every 3-week period, you get also multiple review questions, which help you confirm for yourself what you have understood well and where you might want to get back to these days, for example, with the enhanced and more comprehensive search functionality, and look up topics that is, well, I need more input there. User forum, speaking of more input, no matter what problem you have, technical in nature, content related, Quant platform related, you will find a board where you can post your question. You should follow the rules. You will get prompted to confirm that you have read the rules in the forum. And before you post something, probably you could do a search over the user forum. Maybe somebody else has had the same question and it was already answered once or twice on the user forum. The Discord server we use for continuous interaction, but usually at least once a week we have a live Q&A session. Here you see one from the previously, right? A screenshot from interaction previously, where we meet and where we exchange ideas, where questions are asked, more general in nature, maybe administrative, maybe with regard to a final project or whatnot, right? Because content code related stuff belongs to the user forum. There you can post code, there we can answer in the form of code, there we can upload the Jupyter notebook, etc. So, but here, let's say it's a community. It's like a place, a virtual place, obviously, where we can all meet irregularly or asynchronously, or we meet all together and then we discuss topics of interest to you, to some, or even just to one of you guys, right? The final project, I'm not going into the details, but I've provided here a screenshot, and behind the first screenshot here, there is the link to the requirements. It's a 3-page requirements document, and so far everybody who has tried, I think, has come up with something that fits into the requirements. The requirements here are primarily formal requirements, right? Code must be PEP 8 conform, not to 100%, but I would say to 80 to 90%, right? It must be executable standalone. It must be hosted on GitHub. It must be executable on Google Colab. and a few more things, right? So that's basically it. And to obtain the certificate, the final project is the only important element, right? That's graded. That's the basis for the certificate. If you want to have a more formal background set of information in the form of a classical brochure, here we go. It is hosted on the website. Behind the two screenshots here again is the link to the brochure on the web page. That's in a very concise way a summary of all the content related elements of the program, but also the formal ones, right? You might have noticed that I haven't provided a list of people towards which our program is targeted, right? You see here only for professional and academics, and that's basically it. So Python for Finance has become so ubiquitous these days, so omnipresent in our industry, that I think it's difficult to say it's primarily targeted toward the one group or the other. I was commenting about beginners and experts, professionals, students, academics. I have many professors, many students, professionals with 20 years under their belts, junior analysts who are doing our program, sell side, buy side. So that's basically the whole spectrum. To me, these days, fortunately, because I'm in Python for Finance since 15 years and I have attached my name to it a long while back, right? It's like asking whether it is beneficial to learn English as a language if you want to enter the financial industry. I think in the tech world, Python has become what English is since the beginning as a spoken language. Python, also driven by the AI push, right? Is on the technology side. Yeah, in that sense, I want to wrap up with this pretty fast-paced overview of our certificate in Python for Finance. Be assured you'll find a ton of resources that will help you leveling up your Python for Finance skills. In the beginning, my target was mostly to bring people to the brown belt level. So I'm doing martial arts myself. Grappling, luta libre, jiu-jitsu, right? These days it is more like to the black belt level. So we try to enhance the infrastructure, the content, and making it better and better over time. And yeah, that's my life's work so far. And I don't plan to stop or to get slower anytime soon. If there are questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now. And let me look, right? There are a few, right? Yeah, the cost of the program, you might have seen it, it's a little bit tiny here. So currently we have super early bird. You should go to our webpage, cpf.tpq.io, because the fees change. Currently we have the lowest prices, the lowest fees. It comes at 2,499 euro. Net of any VAT, if VAT would apply, but this increases beginning from the 1st of August already to the next level. And there's somebody asking whether this is the most comprehensive one that we offer. Yeah, what I was showing you, it's everything that we've got. And again, I don't think that we'll find any other program that is remotely similar that provides you with more input than what I've been presenting you. Just think of the 330 hours of instruction, and when you then go, let's say, 2 hours per hour of instruction to practice it on your own, we are close to 1,000 hours that you can count. And if you want to do simply like everything, but that's a good question. We used to have multiple versions of the program, but now we have just this one option, and that's the all-in option. You get all the resources that we have with the CPF program. Good questions. I'm glad that you asked them. And yeah, with regard to hiring, maybe a final word to that before we then come to the end. Yeah, of course. I mean, if you look around the world, not only at universities these days, which I'm pretty happy about, but mostly every company. When I was walking the floors of several banks in New York, I was really happy to see from a distance my book standing on the desk. So I think I'm not cocky to say that people know me in the industry, know our program, know my books, know what we have been doing in the past, know me from my talks around the world, know us from the events that we run. So for sure, they look with regard to signaling options, right? Similar to the CQF. I think the CPF, when it comes to programming, data science, artificial intelligence, they look for that. Good question as well. That's what the certificates are supposed to be about, right? Yeah, per week, studying per week. It's difficult to tell. These days, I rather like to say you need to specify how much time you can devote to the program. I used to say 10 to 15 hours. Below that would be still possible, but you wouldn't see the progress that you probably would like to see for yourself. 10 to 15 hours if you want to study everything over half a year, it's probably not enough. So you might want to put in a bit more time. But that's a good question here as well, which comes after that. Basically, that how long you have access. You have indefinite access to all the resources. So even if you plan to finish the program with a project in 6 months, so let's say you go with a live cohort, you study a little bit along the other topics, then do your final project 6 months, 7, 8 months. Even if you can't hold up with your plan, you have indefinite access. So we don't close any accounts. We don't say, oh, well, now the 12-month period is over. You don't have access anymore. You buy it, you're in, and you even will benefit from updates, upgrades here and there. Not everything that we might bring out in the future, but if you have, which you have here, Finance with Python as a part, and I do another run, a new version of Finance with Python, then you will get access to the new version as well, right? Also, when you sign up, don't worry about whether you can go along with the live cohort 4 months or whether you might decide later on to 12 months. That's not an option. We just ask what is your preference on the web page, 4 months, 12 months, right? That's just your preference. If your plans change, we can accommodate. So I would say we are the most flexible program out there. I know how others do because I teach in 2 other certificate programs, right? So I think we are the ones that try hardest, at least try hardest to accommodate your schedule and your requirements. Wonderful. In that sense, I thank you for your attention. I hope to see you in our program. I think it's a pretty good investment in your future. In any case, I wish you happy Python coding, no matter how you decide to go about it. And for sure, I hope to see you in another session like this anytime soon. Take care. Bye-bye.